Hi, this is Dallas elder law attorney and estate planning attorney Michael Cohen, and I'm joined by my good friend Don Crawford Jr., who for many years we did a radio show together, and just like the camaraderie that we've always had. And so we've just continued our radio tradition here. And usually we just have a topic, and then I never know what Don's going to ask me. So today it's an unusual one. Remember, in February, El Mencho, the drug lord who was killed by the Mexican authorities because of, well, he is wanted.
Yeah.
Uh, in the United States, I think even during the Biden administration, they had a $15 million reward for notice to try to find out where he could be located.
Mhm.
By the way, they found him through following his girlfriend. So
Oh,
you have to be careful when you're a drug lord.
right. More reasons.
Of course, he probably did a lot of other stuff besides just drugs. Who knows, it's just like something on a movie you would see. Uh, his was based, of course, in Mexico. They were known in particular for transporting fentanyl to the United States. Oh, so remember, I should tell you, I was just talking to Don earlier. He just got back from Park Cities, Utah, where they had the Corey Richards got the guilty verdict, and that was she gave fentanyl to her husband in a Moscow Mule, which is a drink. I can't tell you because I'm not a drinker what was in it, but apparently it was enough to kill him. And I think that even they found her cell phone. They said, "How much is lethal?" And she did a lot more than that. Well, anyway, people like El Mencho would be the ones who got it to the United States, and so uh, we here in the United States have tried to stop this for him for some time. He's, these drugs like have gang wars and stuff like that. It's just like you always thought of used to think of the mafia. Well, it's no different with these uh, drug cartels, and this is one of the most powerful ones. Well, uh, we've even in the United States, we even made him that group it's called Jalisco New Generation Cartel. We made them even a terrorist organization, and we had not only sanctioned them years ago, but we had a conviction of him so there's a criminal conviction here in the United States for him. It's just that how do you find him? And then how do you get the assets is another story. So the United States, under the United States law, you can, if you have a criminal conviction, you could get forfeiture of the assets. Mexico followed suit later on, and they made their laws even tougher. They realized that there was issues, and so in Mexico, to seize assets, you could have just a civil procedure, a civil lawsuit. You know how it is on civil lawsuits, like getting a judgment well, and I'm not saying that they even have to get a judgment there, but you have a civil suit. It's not like a criminal suit. In the United States, a criminal uh, action is you have to prove somebody guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. A civil action is you just have to say somebody it's more likely a preponderance of the evidence that you could get a judgment. Well, in Mexico, it's more like the latter, and in the United States, it's more like the former. In other words, we have a tougher burden to show to get a conviction or to get a judgment. So they have, and in Mexico, it's even tougher than that. If you were associated with that, if you had any linkage, even if you didn't have any knowledge, they could forfeit the assets that they thought were gotten by ill-gotten gains, like from drug money. But what's the problem? So both the United States and Mexico could have a claim to his I think that's estimated $50 billion estate. But how are we going to get
Yeah.
it? How are we
That
going to get it?
isn't
We're
always the
gonna
old adage. It's fun when you win, but it's collecting. How are you going to get the money?
right. Yeah. right. So what is it worth,
Right.
So I mean, because you got to remember they have, how everybody's scam artists, they try to get Bitcoin and they have shell corporations, one layer after another layer after another. We we had a show a couple months ago when I said that the law was going to change on March the 1st for reporting when somebody had all cash real estate deals, when they had a trust or an LLC, that in a lot of cases now, and this has been the case since March the 1st, that now you have a duty to report to FinCEN, the Federal Crime Network, because of money laundering. And that's exactly what these drug cartels do. They have money laundering and have get paid in cash, and then they put it in legitimate businesses and all sorts of different things. There's so many different layers. I'm not really sure how they find this stuff out, and we haven't collected as of today, and I don't know that we ever will collect. But that's what's happened. So that's why we have those laws, is because of, quite frankly, organizations like organized crime, like El Mencho's. Well, anyway, it's interesting, at least to me, that we could get convictions, but although, and I guess can an individual get a conviction against El Mencho? Possibly, but even be more difficult because Corey Richard would have to show the connection that she got or the estate of her late husband would have to show the connection that it came from El Mencho, which would be a difficult thing to do. So it's easier for the United States or Mexico, and now Mexico in particular, because they're tougher laws. What gets you into what you wonder about the constitutionality of taking somebody else's property who didn't even know that they were dealing with El Mencho, but that's their issue and not ours. But anyway, it's an interesting to think about how do you collect against an estate of somebody like that.
So you can collect the convict, but you can't collect the money. I'm sorry to hear
Yeah,
that. That's the
yeah,
way it is. Well,
yeah,
you never know with some of these situations. At 50 billion, most of us probably don't have that, but we have assets. We have things that matter to us, tangibles and intangibles. And Michael has a plan for all of that. And you should take your situation to Michael's next workshop and even ask a question, which is free. The workshop is free. It's on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. It's in North Dallas. North Dallas,
yeah,
Michael?
yeah.
So it's
But
really
south of LBJ, but
not about okay.
635 for people who are not didn't grow up here like I did.
Right, right. I-75 and 635, we Pennsylvanians say. And so you can attend this next workshop by just dialing 214-720-0102 or go to dallaselderlawyer.com, 214-720-0102 or dallaselderlawyer.com.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm going to clarify exactly where we are, and that is we're south of 635, close to Central Expressway, which is 75, which is by Medical City Hospital, if you know where that is, on Forest Lane, just south of LBJ. 635. But anyway, yeah. So if you're interested in knowing anything about estate or elder law planning, a lot of times that's dealing with public benefits, veterans benefits. Feel free to. It's free, and if you go to the free workshop, which is 2 hours, we also give you what's called a free vision meeting. So you get 3 free hours without any cost or obligation. Again, yeah. If you're interested, please, we'd love for you to attend. Just call that 214-720-0102 number or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com.
I've always said that it's really important to hear or see somebody in action and to see you in action because of your wisdom, your insight, and your expertise makes such a difference. And I hope people attend the workshop so they can see for themselves. You have an audience of 20 or 30 people there where you present and then you ask questions to everyone that's there, basically. So it's very worthwhile. And I don't think anybody ever regrets going.
No, I don't think so either. Usually you learn something not only from, hopefully from me, but also you'll learn from the questions that others ask because we ask, what do you want to know? And every workshop's different. Nobody's ever asked about El Mencho, by the way, or any
Right.
drug trafficking. Oh, yeah, well, I'm not sure if I want those people at the workshop, but
But the analogy fits perfectly because he had a lot of money, and how did we claim that, especially when we're going up against other local countries like Mexico, which is almost local.
well, they'll probably cooperate. They would try to cooperate. There was cooperation. The United States gave information to Mexico to try to locate El Mencho. So there was cooperation. Uh, to, we want to stop what's
Right.
been going on.
Right.
And so there was cooperation more now than there probably had ever been before. This is not to be a political statement. I was just trying to say that it seems like there's been more pressure on Mexico, and and so there has been, and of course Mexico had a different president as well. Anyway, and like I said before, previously, the Biden administration had a $15 million in effect bounty to find out what's going on. So it's not like we have it's both Republican and Democrat alike
Sure.
wanting to get after these drug lords. It's just a matter of the way they do it.
Like you told me, and it's so true, money does strange things to people. It changes things. I hope they just split it down the middle and America takes half the money and Mexico takes half the money and life goes on. But I know it's harder than that.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people were hoping they were hoping for a snitch so that it gives more of a likelihood with a lot of money that could be. I was watching. You ever see the? I guess it was kind of like that. Well, it's kind of like remember the movie Goodfellas,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
got one guy at the end, so you get go against the others. It's kind of like the Whitey Bulger or whatever that, there was, so there's been a lot of times about different mafia things. Seems so, it seems like sensationalized, but gee, can you believe this really happens? But that's the way of the world is.
Really true.
Well, thank you, Don. I appreciate it. We'll look forward to our next recording.